for Amazon Web Services in South Africa. And I suppose these talks are not meant to be like formal, but we are availing ourselves to just give you background about ourselves in the legal profession, where we've been, how we got to where we are. And I'll just give you a bit of background about me. Since there's little of us, we can actually just make it a conversation instead of just waiting for me to just talk and finish. Feel free to type your message, feel free to go on mic and ask me a question. I, as I said, was born and bred in South Africa, so I studied in South Africa. I did my undergrad in commerce. I have a bachelor's in commerce, and my postgrad is an LLB. My story is that I've always wanted to be a lawyer since I was 7 years old. So I grew up with that mentality. Along the way, I did want to change. Like I enjoyed electrical engineering at some point, and chemistry and science, and I thought I'll do electrical engineering. I changed my mind, but I went back. I stuck to the course of doing law. I had no idea what kind of lawyer I wanted to be. I just knew that I wanted to be a lawyer. And when you study and you do obviously all these types of law, I still didn't have an idea. I think my passion came when my favorite lecturer, which was a labor law lecturer, was paying a lot of attention on me. I think, she just liked me and I liked her back. So then I started having the impression that I was going to be a labor lawyer. So I think that was around my third year. I decided when I get into practice, I'm going to be a labor lawyer. I even wrote my thesis in my LLB on labor law, on the jurisdiction of the labor law court in South Africa, my labor court. And when I got to practice as a candidate attorney, I could be wrong, but I believe in Nigeria, they call them attachés. I think so. I was part of a small law firm that did very little labor law. Did a lot of conveyancing, which is property law, did a lot of notarial work and a lot of litigation. So then obviously, I think it depends on your mentors. So with Professor Vittori being out of my space, and now I've got new mentors, people that I respect because we worked on Advocates International with Bayer as well. So I looked up to them. And one of the partners in the firm got me interested in property law because that's what she specialized in, and in notarial work. So I did that. I didn't enjoy litigation. I still do not enjoy litigation. So then I thought, oh, I want to be a property law expert. So I worked along in that. The firm grew in that two of the firms then merged, a bigger firm and a small firm. And then it came with more opportunities. I could then do commercial litigation work. And I thought, this is another field that maybe is interesting. And I did work with the central bank in South Africa. And then I thought, wow, I love banking. So you could see that depending on who your mentor is, unless you've decided from the scratch what you want to do, you sort of change your mind. And then I fell in love with banking. And when I left practice after being admitted as an attorney, I went into a telecoms company. But even my boss then, I told him that I would love to be a banking lawyer. To cut the long story short around banking, I have worked for 2 banks. And I decided along the way, I am not a banking lawyer. It is not the thing I love, except for few divisions in banking. So this is where I fell in love with technology. And I realized over the years, as I've told you, that it's changed, that I'm more of a technology lawyer. And that is what I specialize in. And there's no more changing. I've been doing it for quite a while now. And yeah, so I think the message that I'm trying to give you is, one, depending on who's mentoring you, and I suppose what you've been exposed to, you tend to make your decisions based on that. Unless, yes, this is like, and there's people that know from the start what they want to do, and those are exceptions, right? But generally, it's dependent on our law lecturers. It's dependent on who we work for and their passions, especially the mentors, the people we look up to. And I don't think that is a very bad thing. I believe it's a good thing because you get exposed. You get to, like, I would never have thought of technology law. I knew there's computers, I know there's these things, but I would never have applied my mind into things like cybersecurity. I suppose later in life I would have, but I'd never thought like that. And funny, this started also in the banking sector that I thought I wanted to work on when I started working on with fintech companies, you know, and then I worked in two telecoms companies. And as we're doing products that we want to introduce to the market, this is when I realized that networks, everything around technology is what I like. So my advice would be do it all, especially while you're still young and you're still starting your career. Don't mind and set your mind on, even if you know what you want to do, when you're just starting out, because you need as much experience as you can. And the others that I've done behind, they've also added the experience, but it also helps you with your resolve to know when you say, I specialize in this and I love this, it's because you've done other things and you know, like I'll tell you, I did litigation. I do not like litigation. So even the tech law contracts that I do, if we have to go for litigation, somebody can take over. It's not my thing. But I think if had you not done litigation, you can't actually say that I don't like litigation. So the more you do, the more you get exposed to, you can then define your niche, but then also you can know what is it that you don't do. And as you grow in your career, it's not even about age, but as you grow in your career, you want to be able to say, these are not the matters I want. I remember when I think Bio was still in Pretoria, a bit younger, I met a lady at a conference who did family law, much older lady, and she was a one-man show. So she owned her own firm. And I asked her, so what kind of family law matters do you do? And I asked her why she went back to practice. She says, the nice part about being where I am and specializing is I choose my matters, right? So if somebody comes with this matter and they say, I want you to do this, I can say, no, thank you. I only want these kind of matters. And I can even choose how many matters I want to do a day. Obviously, she's in practice. She's not in corporate like me. But what I liked about that and what I took from that is once you know what you like, then you can actually decide and choose. So even when you get in a corporate space, when you work for a big company, you tell them, I don't do these matters. This is what I do. This is what I specialize in. And you'll find as you grow that they like that. And also when you go into practice, let's say even if you become a partner, because in practice, it's more about billable hours. You almost want to take every job. But once you specialize, Bio is a civil rights, human rights lawyer. So obviously his matters are diverse, but it's human rights. So if he decides he wants to do a criminal litigation, he can. But he knows what his niche is, and he can concentrate on what his niche is. So it's important when you know what your niche is, because it defines you as a person, and it defines the kind of lawyer that you want to be. And I believe it then adds to your success, because when you find that which you love the most, you do it, right? You don't even see the long hours that you work. We were talking with Bio before the other people came, and I was like, I'm so exhausted. But I'm not exhausted in a bad manner where I say, oh, I don't like my job. I love my job. It's exhausting. But the kind of solutions that I have to come with, it helps me to think beyond just the law. I have to get my internal clients, which is the salespeople, which is everybody that interacts with the customer outside. When they come with solutions, I have to think outside of the box of law, but within the bounds of law. And it is not as easy as it sounds. So yeah, I think I'll let people ask questions if you have any questions. I think that's what I wanted to start with, but I'm here if you have any questions you want to ask.
Okay, everyone is free to unmute their mics if you want to, or you raise your hands and then you can contribute or you can ask questions. I see some senior lawyers here. Honorable Babatunde Ogala, very, very senior lawyer. I'm sure he can also give a few comments and maybe he can interact with us as well. Bola Kisete is also here, Ojola Jegede, the chairman, an MBA chairman, Mr. Issa Abubakar is also here. Basically, we're talking to younger lawyers, but we're also talking to ourselves because, as Clara said, it's not about the age really, but there's a lot of things we can do as lawyers. I know lawyers who are branched out to do events planning or use their networking skills to do other things. So anyone wants to contribute, or Clara, you can continue.
Well, I suppose that's the crux of the message I wanted to give. The direction then comes from the panel, obviously, the audience, if I can call it that. As I said in the beginning, when Bio started this, I think the impression was just intercontinental, but it's for the lawyers, right? What can we do, right? How do you get a mentor? Maybe let me address, because it is more on mentorship. Who are the type of mentors that you look out for? When you're in practice, you have to choose your mentors. Your mentor does not necessarily, this is my opinion, your mentor does not necessarily become the person that you report to, right? Because I think why when I did my articles, when I was an attaché, I worked for a Christian law firm, and your values also count. Because if you're going to work for a manager or a firm whose values are crooked, yes, you could work because you need the experience, but they can't be your mentors. I think this is where I'm going. So choose your mentor well. Your mentor, it's great if your mentor is your direct manager where you're working. It's great if your mentor is also in the same company. But when you see, while you're still in the beginning and you're trying to grow your career and you realize I am in this firm, but I wouldn't necessarily want to end up in this firm, then try and get your mentor outside. Get a mentor that you know you align with, and maybe the type of work that you want to. As I said in the beginning, I said do almost everything when you're starting, but align yourself with a mentor where you think at that particular moment that I want to do such work. Then align yourself, because the more you get exposed to such a mentor, then you will know, yes, I like, or no, I don't like. But we are lawyers and it doesn't define us as people. But I find that if law was your passion and you didn't take law as just the most prestigious career, because we know, especially in Africa, you're either a lawyer, a doctor, or I don't know, something else to be respected, if I can call it that. If you took law because you had a passion for it, right, and you love for it, then your personal values also come into being. So it's important that you align yourself with lawyers that have ethical behavior, lawyers that will keep you in line yourself. Or when you are working for a firm and you're faced with a particular matter and it almost takes you out of your values, then you reach out to that mentor and you say, hey, at my firm, they want me to do such a case. It is good for me to write for bills, right? It's good for my invoicing and then for my billable hours, but unfortunately, I'm struggling with it. And we know at that moment, it's not easy to say, I'm gonna walk away from it, right? So then you go to your mentor, and then your mentor can help you how you align out of it, and also how maybe you plan your exit out of the firm with the experience and into a place where you grow, because you spend a lot of hours doing your work. It is not a 9-to-5 job where people come in at 9 and they get home at 5, they forget about what's happening. It becomes your life. You can't sleep if a matter is not settled. So you want it to be something that you are, as a spirit being, comfortable with, right? And as I said, sometimes it takes so many hours, right? So then you want to be doing those hours, yes, saying, oh, I'm tired, I'm not sleeping, but with such joy, such contentment internally, because it is who you are and it is what you love. So align yourself with older lawyers, older in terms of age, but also older in terms of the people that have done that work for quite a long time. Because you might find that people that are older, they're probably starting a new niche. I don't know, they decided to change their mind. So their olderness in age might not be as useful. So define the kind of lawyer you want to be and then work backwards, right? If I want to be this type of lawyer, let me go search for those other mature or lawyers with my definition of what a lawyer should be. I think that's me, Bio. I'm not sure if there are questions. I mean, there's a lot of things I can say, but I'm not sure exactly what to say. It helps when somebody asks a question and then I'm able to add. But as you said, there are also senior lawyers on the video call that probably could also add in things that I also didn't share, things that I can also learn, right? I'm not senior, I'm not junior, I'm somewhere in between. I'm an undefined category.
Undefined category, that's interesting. I still have, actually, I still have mentors in older lawyers. And interestingly, there are some younger lawyers, you know, that also, how would I put it, you know, encourage me. And can I use the word mentor me? I mean, but in the way they practice their law, in the way they go about their business, they impress me, and I kind of learn a lot from them. I think Bola Kisete is raising up her hands. Bola, you want to say something?
Yes. Good morning, everyone. And thank you, Clara, for the very well put together presentation. I'm also not, a very senior lawyer, and I'm not too junior. Maybe I'm also somewhere around the middle, trying to find my way to becoming a senior lawyer one day. Yes. My addition or question will really, because I work in a government institution, and you've talked about, specialization, and unfortunately, in the environment where I work or where I find myself, it's difficult to sort of find area of specialization, because we tend to move around. We're moved around often from one department to another. And so even where your passion lies in a particular subject area, you're not given the opportunity to remain in that field for as long as you want. And you can be moved to a different department that you probably don't have as much passion or interest in that area. And so how do you sort of strike a balance with getting mentors? Is it when you're moved around to a different department, do you have to sort of now find some mentors in that area of specialization to sort of seek advice from them? Or I'm just trying to see, how do you strike a balance, or what would you advise for some of us who are in government institutions and don't necessarily have the opportunity to have areas of specialization?
So this actually speaks to what I was saying about you don't have to have a mentor where you work. Yes, I know I use the example of if you're working for a law firm that's crooked and you have different values, but it also applies here. And funny is, well, not funny, coincidentally, most of my clients and currently in AWS are the public sector, right? So I do understand the moving around, but I still believe, Bola, that you can, if you know what your passion is, right? You can still specialize in that. Get yourself, learn and be curious. Get yourself upskilled in that, because you're not working with it on a daily basis. Look out for courses that then speak to your desires, that speak to your specialization that you want to go to. And yes, as much as where you are, you need to find a mentor because you need to grow where you are. Look for a mentor in the field. Let's use technology, for example. Guys, technology is booming. A lot of people do not know there's a lot in technology. To just say technology is actually a general term. There's cybersecurity in technology. There's cloud services. There's a lot of things in technology. So in that instance, what you do, when I wasn't working in technology, when I was still in the banks and elsewhere, then I went and I did some certificate, a diploma in technology. Then I enrolled for my master's in technology. Then I started having talks with people actually in government that are heading the cybersecurity division in our government. And you will get aligned. They will tell you, when they starting the divisions also in government, they do look for specialists, right? I think yours is I don't know if I call it right, NITA, NIITDA. When that department or division grows, when those regulations need more people, they're gonna look for people. You might not be in that division, they're gonna look for people that are specialists. If your niche is data privacy, you do know there's a bill that's being spoken of in Nigeria around data protection. Get to know GDPR, get to know the POPIA Act in South Africa, get to know the one in Kenya. Align yourself with that so that when the time comes and they are looking for specialists in data privacy, instead of going to consultants outside, you raise your hand. Get to know the department that is putting that law together. This is just an example that is going to put that bill together. There's going to be a lot of consultations when they put it together. It's going to be a while before it can be law. Get to know those people. Align yourself with them. If you can shadow them, yes, you don't work with them on a daily basis. Ask them, can I shadow you? The day when that department is fully fledged and they want to run it and they're looking for specialists, because this is not a generalist job, they're looking for specialists, you are then aligned.
Okay, look, does anybody else want to add to that? I think that was a very, very important question and observation from Bola. I've experienced the same thing, working in South Africa, working in the US, where sometimes what I was interested in wasn't what my organization wanted to do. And what I just did was, in my own spare time, I took out time to do what I wanted to do. I interfaced with the African Union at the time, also interfaced with the UN at the time. And it wasn't something Advocates International was really into, at least from the Africa perspective. But when I decided to go in, I could show them that there was something to be gained by the activities I was involved in. And, like Clara said, she worked at a commercial law firm. I was having an office space also in that law firm. And, they did a lot of things which I also got involved in, but not necessarily liked it that much. But it did advance me in such a way that I could think, outside the box in certain areas. And I used that opportunity to also network across the continent. So, I mean, there's a lot of things we can do with our skills as lawyers. So I don't know, we have Rose Amis. She's a corporate lawyer. She's also here. Like I mentioned, Honorable Babatunde Ogala, he's also a commercial lawyer, but also a litigator and a lawmaker. So there are quite a few people here. Mrs. Ayodele was formerly in the Ministry of Justice as well. She's here. So I don't know if anybody has any things to share about their own experiences.
Good morning, all.
Good morning, Ms. Amis.
How are you all doing? Thank you so much for this.
So can you give us a bit of your background and your opinions about a lot of what we're talking about?
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Rose Hamis, and I'm the company secretary legal advisor of MDS Logistics Limited, an associated company of UAC. And my experience as a corporate lawyer actually is that as a corporate lawyer, you cannot restrict yourself to a particular aspect of law. When I was in UAC, I have traversed UAC, UPDC, Chemical and Allied Company, Livestock. So I have had the privilege of being a corporate lawyer in so many organizations. And what I have discovered is that as a corporate lawyer, you have to know almost everything. You have to know drafting, you have to know litigation, you have to know company secretarial practice, because the things that come on your table are not restricted to your particular, maybe you are the litigation and claims manager, for instance, in an organization. Your boss could just give you an agreement to review. So if you don't know anything about legal drafting, you will find yourself you will be confused. So in the corporate practice, what we normally do is that you have to know a bit of everything, because today you may be the litigation manager, tomorrow you may be the contract and drafting manager, next tomorrow you may be the So that's just my view in respect of corporate law practice. I hope it will help someone. Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Amis.
Yes.
Clara, let me ask you, how do you deal with frustration as a young lawyer? I see a lot of young lawyers getting frustrated really easily, and they want things to move fast. They want to be in their sector almost immediately. They want to be doing what they want almost immediately. What kind of advice do you have for those ones?
And that's a very good question, Bayo, because I got frustrated and I got burned. As much as experience is the greatest learner, if I could help people not get burned, I would say, please learn from this. So when I worked as a candidate attorney in Attaché, the MD of a company who used to be the president of Advocates Africa, her name is Teresa Conradi, said to me, the secretaries in the company, oh, I forgot, I'm no longer on video. Let me just come back. Okay, so she said to me, the secretaries in the firm are the backbone and they are your crutch and they are very, very important. And as a young lawyer, as much as you raised humbly, you raised to respect, you've been studying for so many years. You honestly feel I've arrived, you know, this is my time to show myself. I know these things. And really, there's not much a secretary can tell me. Well, there's a lot the secretaries can tell you. They have typed a whole lot of those pleadings when the litigation went out. They typed a lot of documents. They have had to sit with the senior partners in the firm speak. They might not be lawyers. They might not articulate it like a lawyer, but there is so much you can learn. And how I got burned is, one, I was quick. I remember that before I became a notary practice, my brother, very, very long ago, my brother was getting married and I drafted an anti-nuptial contract for him. And I was gonna get it registered. And just on the day as they were about to go sign, because they had just had their traditional wording, they were just about to go sign at the office. And then we stormed into my boss's office because I knew that I couldn't get it notarized because I wasn't a notary yet. But I was so proud of myself because all she had to do was put her notarial stamp and sign. And my brother was happy. My sister could help me. She's a lawyer now. And my heart was crushed when she told me the laws around it. That cannot be actually executed on the same day that you go sign. Otherwise, there's another attestation you have to give. That's a South Africa. And there's so many hours that it has to be done, and there's affidavits to be done, and there was this missing and that missing. But you know, as much as I could see, she was very upset, but she gently said to me, you know, Clara, this is not how we do things. And I've had similar situations where I thought, hey, I'm a lawyer, I've learned about this in my studies, and now I've been a candidate attorney for however long I've been, I can do this. Learn, learn, learn. We call them aunties, I don't know what you call it. Take those secretaries at the office, ask whatever question, even if you think you know, just let them be your allies. And guess what, when you get admitted as an attorney and now you have a practice or you're a senior associate under a lawyer, you're no longer a candidate attorney, and now you are billing on your own. Those are the people that can save you a lot, and they can save you time, because remember, time is very important. They can save you time, they can help you with every work. So if you are not learning from them because they are not lawyers, you will do yourself a disjustice. Also, Rome was not built in a day. The fact that you eventually went through law school, you just got your LLB, or you just got admitted, there is a lot you don't know. Me, middle lawyer somewhere, as I said, not junior, not senior, there's a lot I don't know. So I like learning from people. So I think humble yourself and never say, as much as you can call yourself a specialist in whatever that you specialize in, and you are good in whatever you do, and you are well sought, never reach a point where you say, I have arrived, right? I'm the it, I know it all. Align yourself with other lawyers, learn from them, and don't rush it. It's not there's no end to it, right? There's no spot where you are aiming to reach here. The only goals you should be having is to grow in your knowledge in whatever your goals are, and to specialize and to whatever branch, whatever it is. But you can never say there's a point where I reach and I say, now I'm the best lawyer, I know it all, and I don't need advice. You will always need advice. And that advice mostly does not always come from attorneys. Look for other people in the legal profession that can also help you.
Thanks, Clara. I'm still learning a lot of things, like you said. I would like to hear some comments from other young lawyers that are here, and senior lawyers as well. We're in a learning curve, especially with post-COVID issues. So it's very important that we share a lot of stuff together.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, we can hear you.
Yes, my name is Atioke Akimbola. I would like to talk about areas that are not charted, like unpopular areas. For instance, I love human rights. When I was in the university, in my second year, I took a course in human rights. And when I took the course, I fell in love with it. But from part two, when I started telling people, oh, I want to be a human rights lawyer, from that time, I started getting information. Oh, you will never prosper in this area. This place is not good. There's no money here. So my spirit was dampened from that time. But I noticed that most times I like helping people, I like talking to people, like women, children. And because of that mentality I had from the university, it has watered down my love for human rights advocacy. So when I started practice, I'm a young lawyer. When I started practice, I went straight into litigation, and was core litigation was not human rights. And I discovered that um, finding a path was not so easy. So I want to ask, in a situation where you have a passion for a path that is not popular, how do you go about it? How do you get encouragement? Thank you very much.
I think I can. I'd rather Bio answers that one, but I'll also give you a bit of my say on this. But I think Bio being in human rights will tell us better. When I got admitted, the day I got admitted, when you make your oath, when they've asked us, there was a bunch of us. After they've asked us all the questions that the judge asked us, he then said, put us in a row in the courtroom and said, whom of you here want to be rich? And some raised their hands, and he says, you won't make it. And we thought they're not going to get admitted, but they got admitted. And he gave us a speech, and I'll just summarize. And he says, law is not about practicing law is not about getting rich. Eventually, it happens. For some, it doesn't happen. There's a whole lot of lawyers that are not rich, but they are fulfilled in what they do. And yes, they meet their bills. It's not like they're poor either. So for me, I wouldn't say I wouldn't want to practice my passion because I wouldn't necessarily be successful, because I also believe that success is what you make it, right? So if somebody tells you you won't be successful, it depends on what they define success as. But if success is also financial, you can make it, right? At the beginning, maybe if you are not aware of a firm where you can practice human rights, and maybe you can't do it on your own, I would say then get a startup doing other things with other people. But I would say don't give up on your what do you call it, on your love for human rights. So I have a love for human rights, but not to practice human rights. So what I do, I volunteer when there's cases where we can act as the friend of the court. I'm involved. And also when Bio was with us in South Africa, as much as I was still doing commercial work, when there were cases that came as a result of Advocates International, we got involved in that as friends of the court. So if you feel it won't pay your bills in the beginning and you still want to do it, look for NPOs that you can assist with, volunteer your time, volunteer at other firms that do human rights, and do that and see if maybe that is something that you want to take on a full-time basis. But I wouldn't define success of you in human rights based on what somebody told you. And I also wouldn't define success as a lawyer as being rich, if I can call it that. It's okay if you don't make a lot of money. We need money, and that's true. But if you run a practice, or if you are wherever and you are content and you are making money, the wealth will follow, right?
Well, thank you, Clara. You actually answered a question. The key there is to volunteer. If you have a passion, but where you're working currently is not it's not helping you with that passion, you have weekends on your hands, you have holidays on your hands. You can go and volunteer for to do things that your passion kind of resonates with. Somebody else is here, as one of our facilitators is here, and I just want her to just dive right in. Yeah, she would introduce herself because she needs no introduction, really. Lolo one.
I'm very happy to be here. Thank you, everyone in the panel. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be, talking on not the legal profession, even though I'm a lawyer by training, but I do other things now. Of course, everybody knows. I think, okay, let me not say everybody knows me. I'm a lawyer by training. I was called in 2001. I practiced for about 3 years before I veered into broadcasting, and I've been doing that for a long number of years, almost 17, 18 years now. So that's who I am presently. I have worked with a radio station for about 13 years in the pidgin genre, and I'm still on the pidgin genre, but presently I'm the general manager of a new radio station here in the city of Lagos called Lasgidi FM. That's what I'm doing now, aside my other, things that I do that are similar. I'm a compare, I'm a comedian, I am an actress, I do motivation. I guess I do a lot of arts inclined things. That's what I am doing presently. So Bayo, how do I proceed?
Yeah. So how did you move from being a practicing attorney to making that decision to just go into radio and comedy and acting? Did you at any time feel that you were less than, what, as a legal practitioner? Did you feel you weren't going to be fulfilled, or what people would say about a legal practitioner becoming, an entertainer?
All right, thank you very much. For me, I think my legal background actually gave me a very well-grounded foundation. I like to be the best at what I do, anything, whatsoever it is. And at that time, I used to look at the legal profession. I loved the drama in the courts, but I hated academic reading. I don't think I enjoyed going through or pouring through law journals. It wasn't interesting as I wanted it to be. And I know that if I keep pushing myself, I would, do well. I don't think even all the years I practiced, as short as it was, I never lost an application, but it wasn't fun. It wasn't as fulfilling as I wanted it to be. But I knew that in my heart, there was something more that I could do. And entertainment was a natural pull for me because all my life I've done pockets of it. It's called onto me. Even when I was writing my thesis in school, then my project, it was on the rights of a performer, as if it was like a habinja of what my future was going to be. I wrote on the rights of a performer. I've always been in tune with entertainment. So that's why I took a paradigm shift, because I wanted to do something I would excel perfectly in. I just wasn't going to be content with being just a lawyer. If I'm going to practice law, then I must be one of the best at it. And if I'm just going to be okay, I wasn't going to be content with that. So it wasn't more, and I didn't just go straight into entertainment. I wanted to satisfy myself that I can do this. I just don't want to do this. So I practiced core practice. I did litigation. I did a bit of soliciting. I worked in 2 legal firms to be able to, assure myself that, yes, I can do this. I just don't think I'm cut out for this. And that's what I did in my early years. And for me, entertainment came naturally. And I'm always thankful for my law background, because a lot of entertainers do not know some of the things that can come out from even speaking, like laws of libel or slander, or being able to be articulate. Those are some of the things that my foundation in the legal as a lawyer affords me, even in my entertainment profession that I'm practicing in now. And it helps me to be a logical thinker. I'm quick to think on my feet because a lawyer, we use so much of our brains. If you cannot think through stuff, I doubt if you can be successful as a lawyer. So those, foundation that I had, it really helped me to be able to form or build what I am doing now on. And lawyers, I call them actors sometimes, because when you are in the law court, sometimes you're acting, you're performing for the judge. You want to make your words flowery. You want to be to show your presence in the presence of the judge. And for me, it's some kind of acting. And the better you are at it, the more interesting it is to take your matters when you're standing before any judge. So for me, I think that's really helped me tremendously. And the beautiful thing about being a lawyer, initially, you've been privileged to do more than legal courses. We take courses in law, you take courses from outside the law. You take courses from sociology, philosophy, mathematics, even statistics. So it gives us a broad horizon, and that has really helped me. So when I got into entertainment, it was easy. Delivery of language, I had it. I was articulate at things. I was fearless. I can put across my thoughts, intelligently. And those qualities, I want to believe, is part of why I am considered successful in the profession that I'm in now, presently. Does that do justice, Bio? Hello, Bio.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's have questions for Lolo 1.
I'm always telling lawyers, basically, anybody generally, I said, the legal profession is a profession, but we can do many other things even with it. Maybe if you start to do, maybe if you take on entertainment like me, you might not be able to do like core practice because you are seen to be doing something else aside the law practice, and that might not work based on some of our legal stuff. So, but you need to keep making your mind bigger to be able to do more. Your talents are there, aside what you studied in school. So don't be timid. There are many lawyers that I know that are doing so many other things, and they're super successful at it. But if you're called to be a lawyer, it's still fine. Do it. Put your best at it, and you will still get the amount of success that even non-practicing lawyers are getting. So it's not going to be taking anything out of you. When I started entertainment, of course, it took me a couple of years to be able to build my craft to where it is now. I remember that when I took a paradigm shift, some of my colleagues were becoming senior associates in their offices. Another couple of years, they were becoming company secretaries, but I was dogged in what I was doing. And I don't even think it took me 3 years to be able to catch up and surpass even some of them when we're talking about if you're measuring success by material things. Yes, Steve, it didn't take me so long to be able to do that. Yes, please. It didn't take me so long to be able to do that. So I want to encourage everyone that it doesn't matter what you're doing. Sorry about that. Yeah, so it doesn't matter what you want to do. Just focus on what you're doing. Do it. Whether it's legal practice you want to do or something else, put your face on it, do it, give it your best shot, and I'm sure you're going to make a success out of it. Yes, just two. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Lolo. I know that you're very, very busy. Now, there's one question I want to ask. I know. There's one question I really like to ask. You know, for those of us in core legal practice, there's always this story about incompatibility. You cannot practice law and do this or do that. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I know a lot of people, obviously, that do a lot of other things.
All right,
And
thank you.
I'd really like to hear your thoughts on that.
For me, if you are in active litigation, I think there's a law somewhere that you cannot do another visible profession like that. Like as an actor, I don't think you can go back into practice and stand before a judge. I don't think you'll be fit and proper. But now you can do so many other things that are not as prominent. I know a lot of lawyers that are songwriters. They don't sing, but they write songs. I know a lot of other lawyers that are doing businesses, that are entrepreneurs, you know, doing businesses. And they still do soliciting on the side. The challenge is, if imagine if you are like a musician, you've started doing another visible profession that is, you know, very in your face kind of. So it's going to be a bit challenging for you to go before the courts and practice litigation. But I know many people that can still do soliciting if you have that kind of visible. In fact, sometimes I look through documents for people. I'm able to work on my own agreements. I'm able to do some soliciting work on the side when I totally need to. It's just that you can't do another visible profession because it would be so funny. Imagine you are like Wizkid and you are standing before the judge adjudicating on litigating a matter. I think that would be, it would be a lot to take in. I think that's what I think on that.
Well, thank you. I think it would be distracting for the judge and the other lawyers who want to take.
Yes, everybody would rather be taking selfies in court than focus be, and they might not even take you serious. You know, both, not just the judge, even your client. You know, it would be like everything about you will be fun and jokes and not serious. So that might be a bit hard to, you know, have a clear divide.
Okay, so Lola one is saying that if you can still practice law and do other things, but those other things shouldn't be as visible as the main law practice. So something has to give. Either you know, your job on the your talents in other areas may have to give if you're seriously in law practice. So we're still going to have anytime, please feel free to raise your hands and ask anyone of our speakers any questions you want to ask. I'm going to welcome Stell. She's here with us from the US. She's just waking up. I'm sorry that, you know, putting this program together isn't easy, especially when you're doing 2 continents together. But thank you. You're the one making the most sacrifice here right now. So just tell us about yourself and dive right into it.
I'm muted. I was muted. Sorry. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Well, it's morning here in Texas, and I know it's afternoon out there in Nigeria. It's a pleasure for me to be on here with you and to share about my legal journey and story. I had a PowerPoint that I wanted to share so it could make it easier for me to go through the things I needed to talk about. Is it possible for you to let me share my screen bio? It says the host disabled participant screen sharing. I don't know if that's something you can do.
I'm gonna, let's do this. I think can you share now?
Yeah, I can share. Oh, awesome. That's perfect.
Okay, great.
Let's see.
I'm kind of a techie myself.
That always comes in handy, doesn't it? All right, let me know if you can see my screen.
Yeah.
Okay,
Go right
awesome.
ahead.
All right, guys, good morning, good afternoon. And if you're in a different time zone, good evening. Hope you guys are doing great. This is an honor for me to be able to share with you my story, a little bit about my background. My name is Ixtel Mbaacha. I'm an attorney. I have been an attorney for over 8 years, licensed in New York. But originally, I'm from Cameroon. So I grew up in Cameroon, went to college in Cameroon before, traveling over to South Korea for law school. If someone is sending, I think I just got a note, but if there's a question, please bio let me know because I cannot see the chat section from here.
Okay.
So, okay. I graduated, a little bit about me. I graduated with an LLB in 2004. From then on, I got a full scholarship to go to Handong Global University, where I got a JD. At that time, it still is a Christian law school that was allowed to take the bar exam in certain states in America. I petitioned the New York bar. For those of you who don't know, New York has this clause that if you are licensed in a common law jurisdiction and you are a member of the bar association in that jurisdiction or have completed educational requirements for that jurisdiction, they would be able to evaluate your credentials and allow you to take the bar. And that was what I did in 2011. I petitioned them with my transcripts and my background, and they allowed me to, take the bar. Which was a great thing for me. I was super excited, but even so, more excited when I passed the exam on my first try, because New York is known for one of the hardest bar exams. And so that was, I was excited. This was my swearing in ceremony where you see me, a couple years ago, a lot younger. But little did I know that, with my JD, with my LLB, with my law license, that I was just going to get started in trying to figure out what my career options were going to be. 2012 was right about the time when, America was hit with a financial crisis. And so a lot of companies and law firms were not hiring, at that time. And also, prior to that, when I was in law school, I had done an internship with a huge law firm in Washington, D.C. And I knew for a fact that I did not want to work as an associate in a law firm because I saw how things were done. They had long hours. They had good money for sure, but there was no work-life balance, and I wanted something different. So, I normally tell people who are just getting started with their career, with their legal career, to look in and decide, what do you want? With the legal practice, there is the practice of law that involves you going to court or working in a law firm. And then there are other areas that you could use your legal background and still make good money and still feel fulfilled, like you're bringing value to the table. For me, that was the other side of it. And so I would dive into, what is your skill set? Because when you're thinking about your legal career and the things that you can do, you need to think about it from a point of, what is the transferability of your skill set? What are those portable skills that you have as a lawyer that you could use them in another field of law? It does not have to be going to court, being a defense attorney, or being a prosecutor, or, a divorce lawyer. There are other areas that you could use your skills, like oral written communication skills. For me in law school, we had what we called moot court, where we had to go and have trial advocacy and literally present our cases before a make-do judge and, argue with my classmates. And in all of that, I learned oral and written communication skills. And I believe that this is a skill that anyone who's been through law school or who has a legal background would know how to. There are tons of jobs. There are tons of jobs requiring people that have oral and written skills. You may be surprised to know that a lot of government officials, a lot of people in top government posts have a background in law, because it's required that you be able to, publicly speak, present your position and all of that. And also, there's the analytical, logical reasoning skills. This is required if you're going to go into compliance. I'm currently in compliance. You have legal writing and policy procedure drafting skills. There's, contract document review skills, trial advocacy that I just talked about, legal statute interpretation skills. These are things that you learn as you go through law school, and are skills that are transferable into other areas that are not technically the practice of law, but require for you to be able to do a good job at, that if you decided to go that route, you will have a successful career still with your law degree. I remember when I got to law school, a few months after law school, you know, everything I was able to, you know, with my friends, we were issue spotting. We were identifying, you know, what's the law that would apply to this issue, what's the applicability of the law to the facts, and what's the conclusion. These are things that you only get, you know, when you go to law school, because law school changes the way you analyze things. And these analytical skills are really critical for a lot of jobs that, you know, are available to us in the market. So here I highlighted a couple career options for the legal profession. I will not go into all of them, but I will just, you know, talk briefly on them. This is not an exhaustive list. This is just a few that I could get into the slide of the different things that you can do with your legal background. You know, it took me a lot to learn that this was available, because I came from a culture where we always believed that, you know, the practice of law had to be going to court, had to be, you know, having a law firm or working for a law firm, you know, but it had to take me not having that job to start reinventing and thinking, you know, in what other way can I apply myself with the degrees that I have in law? So there's a trial advocacy that everybody knows about, you know, defense, attorney, prosecutor, and all of that. And then there's regulatory compliance. Wherever there are statutes that apply to any industry, they need someone who can understand, you know, the mind or the history, the legislative history of a particular statute, and can also ensure that it's implemented. You know, there's regulatory compliance for financial institutions, the stock exchange, the security firms, the stock brokers, the investment advisors. They are all regulated by a particular regulation. I don't know about Nigeria, but I'm familiar with how it's done here in the US. There are a ton of regulations that, you know, these companies have to comply with. And not just that, if they don't comply with them, there are huge sanctions for non-compliance. And so guess what? The companies are looking out for people with a legal background that can come in and look at the regulations and say, we're going to structure a program like this and like that, so it can meet up with the expectation of the regulators. It's a huge, huge, huge industry. There are regulations for, you know, aviation. There's regulations for healthcare. There's regulations for financial industry. What are you passionate about is the question that I ask people that come to me saying, you know, they're trying to determine what route they want to go. Because if you can link your passion to all these different industries, you'll be able to get some clarity about what you want to do. Another area is contract drafting. You know, you see these companies that have, like vendors, where they're either selling stuff or they're buying stuff. A lot of those engagements are backed by contracts, and they need people that will be able to, you know, write their contracts, negotiate the terms and conditions, get on the phone and, you know, close deals, for lack of a better word. And you, has a legal background, you are in a better or the best position to do this. What I did not know before I started is every time you're applying for any of these jobs, the fact that you have a legal background puts you already at an advantage before the other people who may have the skills but don't have that law license and don't have that legal education. And, you know, there's risk management, there's anti-money laundering, there's privacy compliance. Privacy is a huge thing. We start talking about privacy because of the digitalization of the world. Everything is online. We're sharing our personal information online. We're sharing our social security number here in America. We're sharing our credit card information when you're trying to buy things. There's PayPal, there's Uber, there's all these things that we have our personal information on the internet. And now regulations are coming left, right, center from Europe, and I believe is going to be the case in Africa not too long from now, where we're going to need people who can either draft privacy laws or be able to, you know, help companies that are under the jurisdiction of those laws to be able to comply with the laws. And it's a huge area. There's entertainment law, there's healthcare law. You know, I'm not sure how it's done out there in Nigeria, but here, a lot of hospitals get sued for either medical malpractice. And guess who's at the back end of all of this? They're lawyers. They're people like you and I, people with a legal background. So the opportunities are extensive. I haven't even gotten into dispute resolution. You know, there are people that right out of law school, they just go into the, you know, the way of alternate dispute resolution and set up a practice where if people have, you know, a case for settlement or mediation or conciliation, they can come to them, and there's a process depending on the state that you are or the country that you are. And then there's business law, helping people structure their businesses, having an understanding of the business structure and all of that. The opportunities are really endless. But the question you would ask yourself is, what am I passionate about? What do I want to achieve? For those who want trial advocacy, definitely go that route, you know, and get in the way of practicing and establishing a firm or being connected with a firm. But if that's not something that you want to do, like I didn't, there are other opportunities available. So, you know, here are just a few things, a few of those career options that I put out there and the different things you can do. And if anybody wants this PowerPoint, I will definitely be willing to share with you. I just wanted to go through this quickly. So any questions that you have, you can ask me. So there's the contracts manager, and what do contract managers do? They draft contracts, they redline contracts, they negotiate contracts, they're familiar with the elements of the contract. And, you know, they have good networking skills, they have legal writing. And as I'm calling this different things, I'm pretty sure you are able to identify with them. Because if you've been through law school, if you've, you know, you're licensed as an attorney, these are things that would have been implemented throughout your study or, you know, as you've started working or whatever the case is. Another thing I forgot to mention from the previous slide is anti-money laundering. This is huge. This is really huge. And I foresee that it would even be bigger in places, in countries in Africa, as it is here in America. The bad guys are getting really smart. We call them 419ers, don't we? You know, they're getting really smart in how they're trying to steal money from people, create trends. And so banks are required to have a program, an anti-money laundering program, where you have, you know, legal consultants or consultants come in and structure the program, where they monitor suspicious activity, they investigate suspicious activity, they understand financial transactions, they identify suspicious threats. It's not going anywhere for as long as things are digitalized and the bad guys are still trying to steal money from people, trying to launder money, there's still drug money. There's always going to be a need for an anti-money laundering consultant. I have friends who left out of law school and this is all that they have done. They're making $60 an hour consulting for huge financial institutions. I'm not sure what the exchange rate is, but $60 an hour is quite a lot of money for someone, you know, looking for legal practice. And, you know, there are certifications here in America that you can take. I'll talk about that subsequently. There are certifications that you could take to qualify you to be able to present yourself as a consultant or a rightful candidate for a job like this. Another thing is legal document reviewer. Have you ever heard about it? If it's something that is not common in Nigeria, then it's an opportunity, because every time there's a huge lawsuit between huge companies, pharmaceutical companies, or, you know, parastatals within the state, there's always a process of, you know, deposition and collecting of documents and making sure that the documents are coded to protect client confidentiality, to ensure that, you know, particular things are redacted. Companies do not want their trade secrets out there. And so there is a need for people to come together and go through these documents before they're submitted, you know, in court, to ensure that, you know, these documents are right or, you know, redacted, and there's protection of confidentiality before it goes to court. And here in America, there's always like a contract, or let's say contract opportunities for lawyers. They look for people who have a legal degree to come and do that work. pay sometimes $23 an hour, $30 an hour. If you are bilingual, if you can speak more than one language, it's always a great thing because there are lawsuits in all these different languages. And then there's regulatory compliance managers, like I talked about. Wherever there's regulation, there is a need for compliance managers. Think about it. There is one. Like, just whatever you mention that is subject to some regulation, there is a need for a compliance manager. All right. So here I was going to talk to you guys briefly about the role of certifications and networking when it comes to your legal career. And these are things that I implemented in my own journey that have gone a long way to put me ahead of trends, to separate me from the crowd, to make sure that I'm constantly advancing in my career. And this is a quote by Benjamin Franklin that I absolutely love. If a man empties his purse into his head, no man can take it away from him. An investment in knowledge always pays the best interest. Having your law license cannot be the end of your legal education. And I know that is true because you're here getting more information for yourself. Kudos to you. That is an applaudable thing you are doing. And I encourage you to do more because the role of certifications in being a lawyer sets you apart. You know, because just the fact that you have an LLB and you are called to, or an LLM, or you're called to bar, there's always someone else that's doing a lot more work. There's always someone else that is, you know, maybe joining their bar association. Because if you join your bar association and you participate in activities, when there's opportunity, you'll be the first to know. Membership in other career associations. I know there's FIDA. FIDA is, I think, female lawyers. Are you a part of that? For those who are, you know, women on the call, that's always great. You know, don't be an island because you need to be able to build your network. It's key. It's who you know that will really determine how far you go. Even here in America, trust and believe, we would not call them godfathers, but there are people that carry your brand, that talk about how good you are through the extracurricular activities that you do. So make time. If you can, make time to get certifications, make time to network, find a mentor and a coach, just like you would do in, you know, maybe other areas of your life. For your legal career, it's important for you to have a mentor, someone who is at a position that you admire or would want to be. So that way they can guide you and tell you, you know, steps to take in order that you don't make some mistakes. And then you have events, conferences, seminars. Some of them are free, some of them are not, but it's an investment. It's an investment that you're pouring into your head because no one can take it from you. The connections you will build out of an event, out of a conference, out of a seminar, being a part of an association, that's an investment in yourself that no one can take from you. So I encourage you, if you have not thought about it, to think about it. There are associations that are not just limited to people in the US or Nigeria. You have international associations. You can be a part of them. Just email them. What would it take for me to be a part of you? And the benefits of being part of such are really great. I will not close without telling you guys about my journey into financial regulatory compliance. Like I said before, I already knew that I did not want to work in a law firm. And so at the time with my law license, I had to decide where I wanted to go. This orientation that I share with you, no one shared with me. But I think by the grace of God, he just led me through a path that I'm able to help a lot of people now. Because there are people in the US that did not study in the US. I didn't study in the US, but have a legal background and don't know what to do. And I'm able to help them. In 2012, I had to decide, did I want to get into financial regulatory compliance, or was I going to get into insurance? Insurance is a whole different ballgame. You know, everything here in America is insured. There's health insurance, there's car insurance, there's home insurance. And when something goes wrong with a person, the insurance company is supposed to pay at that time. And so they need lawyers who can interpret the insurance terms and conditions and negotiate, and sometimes even go to court where there's some kind of claim on an insurance. So for me, I became a due diligence investigator. That's how I started. Remember I said, identify your passion. I love investigation. I just love to dig and dig and dig and get the facts and connect the facts and try to make a story If I had a way, I'll be in FBI. I will probably, I'm always watching criminal shows to identify, who the suspects are and things like that. So that was the starting point for me, a due diligence investigator. I worked for a financial institution that was looking at their vendors. Like before they got into any contract with a vendor, they investigated that vendor. Like, who are you? Should we be doing business with you, to ensure that we're protecting the reputation of the company? Because if anything were to happen and my company at that time was found in business with a fraudulent company, that was going to hurt our company's reputation. So that was awesome work. I really enjoyed it. I had to write reports. I had to present my case. You can imagine how excited I would be when, how excited I was when I found a really intriguing case. I tell you guys a story of a case I found where the C-level executives, like the CEO, the chief financial officer, chief investment officer, C-level executives of a vendor company were involved in a $100,000 Bitcoin scam. And my investigation was able to uncover that. It went right up to the top management of the company. I was called forward to present on my facts and talk about, the repercussions if we decided to go forward with business. This were all activities that I enjoyed, but I was powered through it because of my legal background. I was there for a couple of years, and then I transitioned as a contracts manager. As a contracts manager, I was negotiating terms and conditions. I was on the phone most of the time, pushing back on vendors, trying to impose their terms and conditions on the company. But we had been trained in-house to say, this is our preferred term, this is our acceptable term, this is our discouraged term, this is unacceptable. And that was great work. And, I found out that nearly every huge company in America, even the small, mid-sized companies, need a contract manager. It's an area that's untapped and available for people with a legal background. From then on, I transitioned. I became a manager of third-party risk. Third party here referring to the vendors, wherever people are outsourcing activities, there is a risk, because regulators here in America do not outsource risk. If you outsource activity, the activity is outsourced. The risk still lies with the company. And so we had to ensure that the vendors had a proper control environment to mitigate whatever risk were present in our assessment. So this involved doing assessments, doing monitoring of boarding, onboarding kind of work. Really interesting, really intriguing. And then I moved on from there. I became a senior compliance manager, which is my current role at Charles Schwab, which is a big financial institution here in America. And I'm doing similar work, but from a compliance standpoint, to ensure that our vendors are compliant with regulations that would apply to Schwab. My ultimate goal will be to be a corporate counsel, an in-house counsel at any of these jobs that I have worked at. Now, I'm still doing sort of the kind of work that a corporate counsel would do in terms of advising businesses on legal implications and compliance implications, but just so that, I could, let's say, have the title. Really, it's a title thing. Corporate counsel title. I still aim at, applying for corporate counsel jobs and getting at that. But you can see throughout the trajectory of my career that I have been able to utilize my legal background. I have been able to make good use of it. And I do feel fulfilled. I do feel like I'm bringing value to the table. And for anyone who is thinking about going this route, it's a good way to go. You think about it. I also highlighted the different certifications that I have gotten in order to put myself ahead of trends, in order to make myself valuable, to have an edge over other people in the industry. I'm a certified third-party risk professional. I'm a certified regulatory vendor program manager. I completed an information technology audit course, IT audit, just so I could understand when I was dealing with vendors that provide us with IT services. And this is in addition to a host of webinars, a host of professional development seminars, ones that I've had to pay for, ones that have, been sent to me by my company has sent me to represent them. And all of this, I'm still striving. I don't feel like I have arrived. I'm still working hard. I'm going to be sworn in to Cameroon Bar Association sometime this year or next year, whenever I go back there. And that would open up business for, you know, international transactions. I didn't even mention that there's a site called Fiverr. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but I listed my services on Fiverr where I negotiate contracts with people or review people's contracts, and I get paid a minimal sum of money, but it goes a long way. These are things that you can do to get some money on the side, or just to enhance your legal skills, or, you know, the things you can offer to people. I also do some immigration, because prior to getting into the financial regulatory compliance field, I worked as an immigration lawyer with a firm. And so I offer immigration advice, help people get their green cards, travel to the US. All of this I do on the side. And trust and believe, I do feel fulfilled that my legal education is amounting to something. And in conclusion, I'll leave you guys with this quote before we get into questions. If you think you can do a thing, or you think you can't do a thing, you are right. So whatever you decide to do, you could do it. But if you think you cannot, you're right, because your mind controls whatever, you know, you think you can do. People call me, people get to me, Excel, please, can you help me determine what field in law I should get into? And I start, you know, identifying what their passions are, looking for certifications that would apply, looking at their background, entry-level roles into that career field. And so if any of you have a question, please do feel free. I'm open. You can always reach me on LinkedIn. Ixtelmba Acha, that's my name on LinkedIn, and send me a connection request and send me an email. I would get back to you and just have some consultation and figure out what area you're most passionate about. All right, Bayo, I think that's
Thank you very much.
Leave it open for questions.
Yeah. Well, there's one question on the chat box, and it says, let me just, it's there if you can open the chat box, but it says, if a lawyer is facing a lot of financial challenges, but he likes the work he's doing, or he's gaining experience from his principal, what do you advise the junior lawyer to do? I mean, this, on one side, he's having financial difficulties, which means he can't make ends meet, and on the other hand, he's gaining experience. So what gives?
Right. So you're under a lawyer, but you need some kind of financial assistance in addition to what they're giving you. So like I highlighted, there are so many other areas that you can implement, or you can apply yourself to, that can give you additional money. You can start a consultancy as long as it is fine and it does not conflict, there's no conflict of interest with the lawyer that you're working with. But like I said, you know, I offered my services as a contracts reviewer to my friends. I started out by telling them, you know, a lot of contracts have little fine languages and people sign their lives off without even reading them. If you want for someone to review a contract before you sign it, I'm here. I'll do it for $25. You could say I would do it for 15,000 Naira or 5,000 Naira. I don't know what the equivalent is. You can offer those services that are you already have skills for them, like reviewing contracts, like drafting contracts. You can start talking about wills. A lot of people don't, or people are beginning to understand the importance of having a will, and tell them for 2,000 Naira, for 5,000 Naira, don't let your parents, you know, be without a will. Talk to your immediate circle and tell them that you draft wills for a certain amount of money, and you go ahead and look at what are the requirements to draft a will in Nigeria. And you start offering those services. Or if you're drafting for someone in South Africa, look at, you know, what are the elements of a good will, and you can draft them and start charging. That's how you build experience, and that's how you make money. You know, you can also open a consultancy and say, for people who want to start a business, you can help them incorporate. You can help them draft their articles of association. You can help them draft their memorandum of understanding. Whatever you can draft and charge for, these are avenues that are available for you to think out of the box. It was that, you know, the fact that I was also financially challenged that made me to think out of the box, because I didn't have money right out of school. That made me to start thinking in what ways I could offer my service. I'll tell you a story. You know, when I left the immigration law firm and I was still looking for my next opportunity, an NGO approached me and said, Excel, we would like for you to represent our clients. And they were ready to give me, I don't know what the equivalent is, but I'll just tell you the amount, a $2,000 retainer. That's a lot of money then for me who did not have anything. Even though I did not have extensive experience, I said yes to that opportunity. Sometimes because of fear, we say no for things that we will learn on the job. I took that case and I prepared with everything that I had, going in front of an immigration judge and defending asylum cases like I had never done before. But that built my portfolio and that taught me a lot. That today, you know, based on that experience, I'm seasoned in the area of asylum. I'm seasoned in the area of getting people green cards through marriage because I said yes to an opportunity. And the motivation at that time was financial hardship. I needed the money at that time. My biggest, you know, breakthrough in terms of deals that I have made, financial compensation, have come through work that initially looked daunting, looked like I couldn't do it. But when I said yes and I applied myself to it, I was able to make a whole lot, like make in 1 month what my current company pays me in a year because I said yes. So think out of the box. Look at these things that I have shared. What are your skill sets? What are some of the things that you can currently do that even though you don't have experience, you will still apply yourself to learning them. And that will bring you some financial gain even as you work with the attorney.
Thanks, Estelle. So does anybody have questions or comments? Estelle is our last speaker today, so please dive right into it. Let's have some more contributions, please. We have some senior lawyers here. Well, in between junior and senior lawyers. Some of my classmates are here. Kunle Jegede is here. We still have Honorable Babatunde Ogala here as well. So please. And then we want the young lawyers to ask questions. I mean, just go out there, come out and say your mind, what you're going through and what things you would like to hear. Anybody? Okay, it seems like everybody's satisfied with what we've said. Excel, you have last words to share with us?
Well, just to encourage everyone, reach out. If you want for us to brainstorm on the different areas you would like to get into, I'm open. Feel free to reach out. Let's connect on LinkedIn and I'll be glad to help in any way that I can.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, Lolo, is Lolo still here? Lolo 1, AKA Adaku. She's very impressive lady. She's probably one of my mentors too, if I, you know, if I can call her that.
What do you mean by, are you trying to embarrass me?
You're an excellent, powerful lady. So any last
Thank you
words?
very much. I just want to say that one of the things I found out that knowledge seems to not be our problem, but application of the things that we learn. So let's endeavor that everything that's been, said on the platform, we all take time to go through them and imbibe them and practice them so that it can truly, truly be of benefit to us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Lolo, and thank you everyone for participating in this. One of the reasons that I put this up, although I haven't, I thought we would get more people here, more young lawyers here, but the reason why I put this up was there's a lot of pressure, especially post-COVID issues, but even before the COVID, there are a lot of questions about career path and a lot of frustration by younger lawyers. And I realized these are not different from what we faced when we're younger lawyers, and to some people, people in my category is still are still called younger lawyers, and we keep trying to still reinvent ourselves. So there's a lot of things out there for us to look at. There's a lot of challenges out there. We can always rebuild ourselves. We can always start something new. We don't have to be stuck in anyone's mindset about our profession, about our lifestyles. We can make those changes midway or towards even the end. So thank you everyone for joining in, and let's continue to network, and let's continue to look out there for more opportunities. Thank you very much. Have a lovely day.
Thank you, Bayo.
Thank you, Mr. Akelade.
Thank you very much for joining us.